So now, let's talk about political self. So what is political self? It refers to individual's sense of identity, values, beliefs, and attitudes related to politics and governance. It encompasses how people perceive their role in the political system, their views on issues like power, justice, equality, and representation, and on how they define their relationship with authorities, communities, and other citizens. So now, let's move on to introduction. First, let me ask you three questions. Have you ever stopped to truly define what a Filipino identity is all about? When someone asks you about our country, do we light up as we share the beauty and proudly say, I'm a Filipino? Or we do hold back sometimes, even feel embarrassed when faced with our nation's challenges? The truth is, the Philippines hold a wealth of treasure that make our identity one of a kind, from our resilient spirit and vibrant traditions to our rich history and warm sense of community. We have so much to stand tall for. Today, let's dive into what shapes who we are as Filipinos and discover how recognizing these unique traits can help us build a deeper, more meaningful sense of pride and where we came from. So in our objective, we aim to trace the historical context of the political self of the Filipinos. Second is to take pride of the Filipino identifier values and traits. And lastly is to connect the current trends of social upheavals to the historical viewpoints of independence and liberation.
Miguel Lopez de Legazpi made a sanduguan with Chieftain Sikatuna based on the Filipino values of katapatan. Filipinos supported the colonizers for over 3 centuries, but the Spanish broken the pact, imposing forced labor, monopolizing markets, seizing lands, restricting freedom, and keeping Filipinos ignorant. In the pre-colonial era, Filipinos were free and governed by small communities and units called barangay. Antonio Spaghetti's note documented that the natives were autonomous and economically prosperous. By the end of 3 centuries of Spanish rule, educated Filipinos natives remembered the original pact and drew on the traditions of the prosperous barangay, demonstrating katapangan to resist oppressive colonial rule. Power inspired Filipinos' patriotism, especially in his novels Noli Me Tangere and Il Filibusterismo. His final poem, El Ultimo Adios, indicated a predisposition towards the armed fight headed by individuals like Andres Bonifacio, who justified revolutions due to broken pact, even though he did not support bloody revolution. The initial Filipino revolutionary movements against Spain was limited success. However, American intervention in 1898 helped the Philippines achieve independence from Spain. His newfound freedom was short-lived as the American retains from 50 years, influencing the nation's political, education, economic, and military affairs, which led to the Philippine American was a Philippine sought through independence. The desire of freedom remains even after President Emilio Aguinaldo surrendered due to the power of the American troops. Political pragmatist Manuel Quezon carried on the struggles in the United States. Congress obtained the Jones Law, the Philippines eventually attained complete independence in 1946, and he went on to become the Commonwealth President.
Establishing a democratic culture. The early phases of Filipino democracy were disrupted by the Japanese occupation and the creation of a Japanese-sponsored republic after independence from the United States. As a buffer, President Jose Laurel prioritized the welfare of the suffering Filipinos in Malacanang while managing relations with the Japanese. The post-World War II era is covered in this part, with an emphasis on nation attempts to develop and rebuild its democracy institution. It then describes a major setback caused by Ferdinand Marcos' declaration of martial law, which eventually resulted in the EDSA Revolution, a nonviolent movement that showed the Filipino people's fervent desire for freedom. Before World War II, the Philippines was transitioning to independence from the United States. However, Japan's invasion disrupted this process and established a puppet republic. Jose Laurel served as president of this Japanese-sponsored government. While the regime was under foreign influence, Laurel focused on addressing Filipino hardship, like food shortage, and social distress. While navigating relations with Japanese authorities, a complex rule that remains debated in Philippine history. Post-World War II era and democratic development. After Japan's defeat, the Philippines regained independence in 1946 and began building democratic institutions like Congress and the electoral system to solidify self-governance. Martial law. So about martial law and its revolution in 1972, President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, citing threats of communicism and civil unrest. This move suspended democratic process, restricted freedoms, and it concentrated power in his hand, marking a major setback for Philippine democracy. The bloodless It's a People Power Revolution led to the 1987 Constitution, which established democratic governmental structure. To honor people power and strengthen democracy, this constitution guarantees: number one, full protection and equal employment for Filipino workers, locally and abroad. Number two, workers' right to self-organization, collective bargaining, and peaceful activities. And number three, recognition of rights for farmers, landowners, and their organization. Number four, protection of subsistence fisher folks' rights. And number five, the people's right to pursue collective interests peacefully within democracy. Number six, people's right to effective participation in social, political, and economic decision. And last, a system for direct legislative proposal and rejection via initiative and referendum. All this among others All this among others ensure the protection of the rights of every individual and the development of a democratic culture that is fit to the long long-standing desire of the Filipinos to achieve peace and liberty. A closer glimpse as the nature of democracy might be helpful. We- This is almost certainly a moment from the 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution. The massive peaceful crowd gathered on EDSA Avenue in Metro Manila symbolized how collective action by ordinary citizens ended, when, and the authorities' rule, and represent the foundational moment of modern Philippine democracy for the self-governance. And last, democracy. Democracy is characterized by the understanding that the welfare of the individual and the community is essential to its operation and results. However, the exercise of rights and obligation is not guaranteed by the mere existence of democratic institution. Empowering its citizens, promoting consultation, facilitating popular decision-making, promoting overall development, providing necessary accountability, fostering respect for others' rights, demonstrating concern for welfare, and maintaining unity, justice, and equity are all important characteristics of democratic society.
Oh, so in establishing a democratic culture, we have an action agenda for a democratic society. First is to improve political and social environment and reduce poverty through structural reforms to foster community rights and obligations. Second is to continuously re-examine societal institutions for value formation to install democratic and citizenship values, not indoctrination. Third is to incorporate cross-cultural activities in public or private programs like schools, churches, NGOs, and POs to recognize diversity and encourage experiences sharing. Fourth is further promote Filipino and Philippine languages in all transactions to articulate citizenship and democratic views or values. Lastly is to continue to utilize institutional and informal mechanisms for open space in democracy like conflict resolution, dialogues, and partnerships. So these five actions form a comprehensive framework to strengthen Philippine democracy and social cohesion. They focus on addressing system gaps, nurturing inclusive values, celebrating diversity, affirming national identity through language, and ensuring meaningful participation across all levels of society. So, in summary, if the government officials and society cooperate with each other, respect each other, and know how to handle situations, this will lead to a better democratic government, a stronger sense of community, a stronger sense of belonging, more stable, more meaningful, and healthier sense of self. The vibrant history of our nation emphasizes our fidelity to our promises and our desire to attain independence. We have explored all the possibilities to attain and sustain these values. The colonial influence may have tainted our values and traits, but we remain faithful to one another and to our nation. Despite numerous foreign influence and the imposition of authoritarian rule, we continue to build democratic communities and stronger institutions to, to demonstrate distinct and to separate national identity.